Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Movie Idol. So I want to talk about The Walking Dead, and I guess more specifically just answer your questions about the Walking Dead universe. I really want to try do these weekly because it's a lot of fun. Choosing 10 questions and just do them every week, maybe even doing them every Monday, or maybe even Sunday. Maybe we can make it like a Sunday thing, right? Since The Walking, or I guess never mind, Fear is going to be on, right, this Sunday, so maybe we'll do it like every Wednesday or something like that. This way we have something Walking Dead related coming out every Sunday and also every Wednesday, right? But the Walking Dead universe in general is slowly starting to ramp up again because Fear is starting this Sunday, which is a little exciting compared to the last few weeks of just like no Walking Dead. Like there was just so much focus on Game of Thrones, and now that Game of Thrones is done, we can start focusing on the Walking Dead again. And Fear is this Sunday. I'm mostly just excited because of the Rick Grimes stuff. I really can't wait to see where that goes. There likely won't be any specific Easter eggs to him, mostly because whatever is happening in Fear right now is happening before he was taken away in episode 5 of season 9. But we will for sure find out stuff about the community. We might actually get some Easter eggs to Jadis. Morgan or John or someone might actually pick up on a radio call between Jadis and one of these members in this community. Who knows, at the end of this season or in the mid-season finale, there literally might be a direct connection to this helicopter is leaving to go meet with Jadis, which we know is going to end up picking up Rick. You know what I mean? We're at that point where they can actually do that because this season right now is going to heavily be setting up this Rick Grimes movie. That's what's super excited. But anyways, let's get into the questions. First one here is from Vinny. If you could change something about the show or have them do something different, what would you do, or what are you wanting to see most for the rest of the show? Well, if there's one thing I can change about the show right now, I mean, a lot of it honestly has went away. Like I think I was asked this in a Q&A a year ago, and I had a lot to say about it, but Angela changed up a lot of the criticisms I had about the series, and right now I don't really have any, but if I could change something, I would like there to be an end game, or just at least something that we're going towards, because I love watching the show. I love when every season starts. It's usually around Thanksgiving. I'm Canadian, so Thanksgivings are in October. I just have to clarify that because whenever I mention that Walking Dead's around Thanksgiving, everyone's like, wait, what? But I like that time of year, you know what I mean? Like it's fall, Halloween's coming up, and The Walking Dead is on, and we're watching it every Sunday. But as exciting as that is, there needs to be some sort of end goal. There needs to be something that we're working towards, because right now, the only thing I can actually think of for an end goal is finding Rick, or finding out that Rick's alive and Rick returning home. That's sort of the end game now at this point, in my opinion, but I don't think it's going to be the actual end game, because if you remember, Andrew Lincoln did say that these 3 movies will conclude Rick's story. Obviously, he's just saying that for whatever sake, but I do think he's most likely going to be returning to the show, but it's probably going to be for one final episode, so it's not going to be like he's returning to the show, it's just he's there for one final episode, and I'm hoping it works out that way anyways, and not that every other cast member has left because this show is on season 23 or something. That's what I don't want. So again, yeah, I would love there to be an end goal. This one here is from We Queen 2000. Q&A question: how do you think Michonne will leave the television series? Who will she leave Judith and RJ with when she does leave? Well, she's leaving the television shows to go to the Rick movies. Now I also should clarify, we don't actually know 100% for sure if Michonne's going to be going to these movies, and we won't know until they actually announce that, which is likely going to happen in Michonne's final episode, so that might not happen until way later in this year or early next year. Though I guess they could mention it at Comic-Con, right? If they release the Rick Grimes movie title and casting, they could say, well, Michonne's going to be a part of it, right? That would build up a lot of hype and would confirm that she does survive, which would make a lot of fans watching season 10 feel a lot better, though I don't know if they'll actually do that. As for who she's going to leave Judith and RJ with, she's probably going to leave them with Daryl. Just because if she's going on this rescue mission to find Rick, why would she bring her kids, right, to put them in danger like that? At least that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's done in that way. I really don't want it to be done in a way where it looks like she died too, and everyone's like, wow, we lost Rick and Michonne. And then Michonne just wakes up in this place with Rick, right? I don't want the show to have to go through 2 big deaths in 2 similar ways. Nike's HD Q&A: how do you think the Negan redemption arc will go in the show? Because they're obviously changing stuff, and do you think Daryl and Negan will get along or not? I don't think Daryl and Negan are going to be getting along for a long time. Honestly, season 13 or 14, maybe around there or something, but no, they're not getting along for a while. As for Negan's redemption arc, I think we saw a lot of it in that finale when he rescued Judith, and I think he'll probably do more like that. And I think the one person who's going to actually allow him to be out there and be more accepting of Negan is going to be Carol. Because Carol hasn't had a lot of that close personal time with Negan, has really seen him that much ever, if not ever. There's been no scene between them two yet. And so I think that's why she'll be more accepting of him. And I think that's something we'll be talking about later. Carol's going to be way more accepting of Negan in the community, whereas Daryl won't. And I can already picture them talking about this on Talking Dead. They'll be saying that the reason is because Carol, she never really saw Negan before, right? And she's never really had that much hate towards him in the same way that Daryl has, where Daryl's been like front and center, like with Negan, saw him kill Glenn and, So I think a lot of Negan's redemption or redeeming qualities will probably be more expressed or accepted by Carol, and then other characters will slowly follow. Daryl, I don't imagine will ever get to that point, though I do think the two will work together if they're fighting the Whisperer sort of thing. Comics Hub, my Q&A question, what are your favorite seasons and why? My favorite seasons, I would have to say, are season 4, 5, and now 9. 4 because of how dark it got, I really, really love that. Season 5, sort of for the same reason. Early in the season, I really, really liked, and also later on in the season when they were trapped in that storm and their trip to Alexandria, how far they went. Season 9, I just really loved because of how much it brought back the original vibe and the original feelings I had towards the show back in like season 4 and 5. A lot of the dialogue was written very similar, if not there was way more dialogue now. The cinematography was very similar, stuff was updated and looked a lot better. And I know it's hard to tell in some ways because you could argue, well, no, it actually feels very different because Rick's not there. Well, focus on the episodes that he was actually involved in, right? Like in those episodes, he did a lot, and it felt a lot like the older seasons of the show, honestly. Trey asks, how do you think Michonne is going to find out about Rick being alive? It's going to be connected to the radio. It just has to be. I would really hate it if someone just came out of nowhere and then that was the reason. Well, I guess there could be another way, actually, and that is if Maggie returned. Like, if Maggie was the reason for Michonne's departure, I would love that. She comes back with some information about Rick's survival, which causes everyone to freak out. Michonne leaves and Maggie gives her, like, coordinates towards his location, which then maybe Maggie will stay and then we'll get, like, this transition. Ron asks, so, if you were a gambling man, what would be your best guess, year and month for the first Rick Grimes movie? I'm going to say most likely October of 2020. They haven't started filming yet. They were working on a script earlier in the year, like in January. Actually, I think in December they were, but I know they weren't done by January. They're likely done by now. I do expect an announcement to come during Comic-Con. Casting news and all that will be revealed slowly throughout the year, and they probably will start filming later on in the year. Maybe even early January, and how much do they really need to film, right? It is going to be like a 2-hour movie, but they take 6 months roughly, if not more, 6-7 months to film a whole season of The Walking Dead, which is, what, close to like 14-16 hours or something? This is only going to be 2 hours, right? Like this Rick Grimes movie is only going to be 2 hours, and yeah, it's going to have a movie budget, it's going to have a movie quality, like feeling to it, so maybe it won't take like a month or two, but they'll probably be done within 3 months, to be honest. So if they start January of next year, February, March of next year, that movie could definitely come up by October 2020. The Big Bang Theory asks, Q&A, how would you want Fear the Walking Dead Season 5 to end if this is the final season? Also, do you plan on reviewing the first Rick movie whenever that comes out? Well, first of all, obviously, I will be reviewing that movie. And how would I want Fear to end if this was the final season? First of all, I would love if this was the final season. Honestly, I feel like they should just end this and start a new show. As for how I would like to end it, I would just like the characters to maybe transition over to The Walking Dead. Maybe not all of them, because that's a huge cast, and bringing him to The Walking Dead, it would be really hard to blend that in to make it work like that. Like maybe bring Strand and Alicia, Morgan and Dwight. Maybe John and Althea too. But again, like that's a lot of characters, right? Dwight and Morgan will just be returning to the original show, so that's fine. But bring like Strand, Alicia, John and Althea, I'm okay with that. The Silver Scrub asks, where do you think the Walking Dead TV universe will explore the Commonwealth arc, in the show itself or the Rick movies? This is something I've been wondering about because the Commonwealth arc so far in the comics, really, it's been overall disappointing. There's been some interesting stuff with all the Rick stuff, which I won't spoil here, but for the community itself and what it's doing for the actual story, we have no clear indication or hint at where it's going at all. I'm still holding out hope. We'll see where it goes. This Rick stuff is very interesting. I want to see where they go with this, but for what we got for the last 20 or 30 issues, I have no idea. And so if Gimple wants to do something different with this and make the Commonwealth a huge part or a larger entity in general, they could definitely connect it to all of these communities, which I feel like it kind of has to at this point. I really feel like the Commonwealth story has to be, I feel like, partially ignored, because wherever Rick is dealing with all these helicopter people, like this is going to be something very, very just up there, you know what I mean? And so if you bring the Commonwealth in season 11 and they're a community of 50,000 people, that just seems bigger and more of a threat than anything that Rick is dealing with in his movies. So I think we're going to see some sort of change there, and I do think it's probably going to be introduced in the Rick Grimes movies first, and some of it will slowly phase in, I guess, with the television show. Juan asks, wouldn't you agree that the comics are way darker than the show? Yeah, for sure. I would say the comics are definitely way darker than the show. There's a lot of stuff that the show didn't even cover that I thought they might actually cover in season 9, they didn't. But that's more because of a different format. Like the comics can definitely get into darker stuff because it's a comic book, right? Thomas asked, what do you think Carl would do would he have survived season 8? Well, a big thing is that I think he would have took way more initiative in season 9, that's for sure. And because of that, I don't think Judith would be front and center. Honestly, I would just love a Carl and Judith team up. I would have loved it to have been a relationship where Carl is doing everything and trying to tell Judith, like, stay put, but she doesn't, and she's always out there. She's talking with Negan. Maybe Carl actually hates Negan a lot, but Judith is talking to him and like friends with him, and I would have loved something like that. Just something different there. Like both Grimes are the children of Rick Grimes, helping Alexandria, fighting the Whisperers and all that. I would have loved that. But thank you guys so much for this Q&A. It's getting really long, so I'm going to end it here. I did choose 10 questions. I'll try to keep this a little bit shorter next time. So for next Wednesday, which will be when I post my next Q&A, just post your questions down below and I'll choose 10 of them and I'll answer them in that video. Next Wednesday is also going to be when I post my review for issue 192 because it comes out that day, so that's going to be pretty exciting. It's going to be a very massive issue, so stay tuned for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.